Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video sponsored by Simon Says Stamp. I'll be using a couple of different Simon products today, but mainly the focus will be on this summertime die that I really just fell in love with. And then I'm using the Make Your Mark stamp set, Four Seasons Sayings, and the Abstract Triangle stencil. So if you have watched my videos recently, you've heard me say I'm kind of totally in love with this stacked sentiment trend that's happening in card making. And that's what this die is. And I love it. I just think it's so fun to make like some graphic style cards with. And that's what we're going to be doing today. I made 4 of them. So I had marked where the die was going to be so I could get proper placement for my stamping, but I did erase my line beforehand because if you stamp over the line, you're not going to be able to erase it. So make sure you get rid of that once you have everything placed. For me, it's going to be in my MISTI. I'm using Distress Oxides to stamp today. I would not recommend stamping in Distress inks. Distress inks they're great for a lot of things, but they don't stamp great. Distress Oxides stamp amazing. So that's just one of the things that's different about those two. These stamp super solid. You could also use any other stamp that you have. I wanted it to be a ombre gradient. Christina Warner told me one time what the difference was, and I've got nothing right now. So one or the other. I wanted it to be a transition of color. There you go. So what I did was I stamped the picked raspberry, and then I stamped the carved pumpkin on top of it. And this particular one, the carved pumpkin completely covered it up. So I did have to go back in with the picked raspberry and stamp it over top of that again, which was no big deal because I'm using the MISTI. If you watch my videos, you have also heard me say that I don't ever make, I don't make a card twice. So whenever you're watching me do it, it really is the first time that I've ever done it. And so I knew, like I said, I wanted that, I'm just going to call it a gradient because it's easy, that I wanted that gradient of color. And so that's why I was combining the two. And you can do that. Again, it doesn't have to be with Distress Oxides. So I did the picked raspberry. I did the combination of the carved pumpkin and the picked raspberry. Now I'm just going to do the carved pumpkin. And I'm just going to kind of move my way down the card. I did notice as I was doing this that basically whatever my lighter color was, and each time it was different, whatever my lighter color was, if I stamped that one on top, that was how I got the best results for the quote unquote mixing of the colors. So here I'm going to stamp the leftovers of the carved pumpkin, and then I'm going to put my squeezed lemonade on top of that. This would also look like super cool with generational stamping. So if you stamped, your stamp like once at the bottom, full strength, and then just kept moving it up the page, I think that would be more of an ombre. I think this is more of a gradient. Then, it would get more ghost-like as it went to the top, and it would kind of fade out, and that would be kind of a super cool look as well. So this line is the combination of the carved pumpkin and I use squeezed lemonade. And then here, when I saw this little faint yellow line, I was like, oh, I could probably use that to my advantage. So I'm going to stamp the squeezed lemonade, which you can tell that there is a color difference, and then erase my last final line, especially for this lighter color. And I'm going to use what's left over on the stamp to stamp my final color, so like the super pale yellow. I also did this same thing in a more masculine, a more masculine color palette, but I started with that same yellow. So I really liked that very soft pale yellow. So I'm just going to put a piece of scrap paper in here, and then I'm going to stamp it one time, open my MISTI back up, remove that scrap paper, and stamp it again. And then this is going to kind of lead me into a yellow, green, teal, blue color scheme. When I went into this one in particular, I had the idea that I wanted my layout to be this longer black piece with the summertime cutout at the bottom. And so I knew that I needed to make my stripes here a little bit longer than I did with the other one, which was just going to have a square die cut on it. So I don't know how you guys are doing. I told you the last time we talked that that I'm pretty overwhelmed. And I am pretty overwhelmed. Nothing's changed on that front. I don't think I'm the only person who struggles with this. I struggle with telling people no. I struggle with telling people that I am too busy. And part of this is, I think for a lot of people, it's like people pleasing. They want to please whoever's in their life. That is not my particular problem. I just don't. I want to do all the things. That's basically what it comes down to. I want to be able to do all of the things. I want to be able to spend time with my family and have a career and have a hobby and volunteer and do things that I'm passionate about. I just want to be able to do everything. And there's only so many hours in the day, and I have to prioritize. And sometimes I get myself in a spot like I am right now, where there's just a little bit too many things on the plate. And so because of that, I think we've talked about this before. My son just wants to be outside all the time. And I don't even blame him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's beautiful out there right now. He wants to be outside all the time. And before I made videos, I could do that. I could take my coloring outside. He could play. And it was no big deal. When I was, done coloring, I photographed my card and posted on my blog. Now that I do videos, and I'm not mad at it. Okay, let's be clear about that. Like, I'm not mad at it. I enjoy doing the videos. I enjoy engaging with you guys and reading your comments. Somebody made a comment the other day and said, if you actually read all of these comments, like, you're insane. I really do read them all. I read them all. I respond to them myself. When you get a little heart on your comment, I read it. I really did, because it matters to me. I don't do this just because I love the creating portion of it, but I do the videos because I love that connection, the conversations that we can have with each other, and hearing your guys' stories in the comments and how we can relate, even though our lives are in different spaces and we're at different points in our life or different time periods. Like, that's my favorite part. So here, I'm not even talking about what I'm doing, right? Should be used to that by now. Here, I'm just doing a rainbow gradient. I'm using the same colors that I stamped in, and I hold my stencils down with Tombow Mono multi-glue. So that way I don't have to worry about taping them down, and that works really well for me. I totally love this abstract stencil. I was really feeling my inner Laura Bass in here with this. And so I did one that was up and down gradient, and then one that was a diagonal. You're going to see here, I'm going to go in with this white eraser. And this is because I use that Tombow Mono multi-glue. Sometimes it leaves little stickies behind. You don't want to remove those stickies with your fingertips, because we all have a natural amount of dirt that's kind of on your fingertips, whether it's from the ink or touching your face and your makeup, all of those things. You don't want to rub those onto the glue, because then you'll leave a mark. So just be aware of that. So those are all of the backgrounds that I have going on. I have run these through my die cutting machine, which for me is a big shot. And these ones here, because it cuts a perfect square. The die cut cuts a perfect square. For these ones, I left the cutting plate off of the edge of the top of the square when I cut this black piece. I'm going to pop all of these up on foam because I hate myself. And no, that's not true. I'm going to pop all these up on foam because I really, really like the way it looked. I really, really hate the finicky pieces. But sacrifices must be made sometimes to get what you want. And this is, I wanted them to be popped up. So all I did was put a very thin strip of foam tape in between each kind of layer of letters. You know what I'm saying? In between the letters, folks. That's what I did. And then I covered the rest of it with foam tape. I could have probably used like the white fun foam, but it really just seemed kind of silly to me to switch them up. So now once I have all of the foam tape that's on there, I'm going to remove that and then go ahead and adhere it. You'll also see for some of them, I have white heat embossed a extra part of the sentiment. So this one, like this one we're doing right now, will say hello sunshine. Hello summertime. I'm looking at the sunshine at the top one over there. And then I just trimmed off the extra, and I thought that was super cute. I did the same thing for the other one that said summertime sunshine. Watch this, because disaster is about to strike. I needed the die cut to be there because I needed it for placement. That's the reality of the situation. I almost dropped the ink pad right on my card, and I was like, phew, disaster averted. Thank you, Lord. And then I went to stamp this sending right next to it, and then watch what happens. Do you see? Because it was raised up, because I already had the foam tape on it, I put a line on it from my acrylic block. Like, the edge of it had ink on it. There's nothing I can do about it. I've already covered it in foam tape. And so instead of cutting a new one and re-foam taping it, which I would have just cut a new one if I hadn't already foam taped it, but I'm not doing that again. I just told you that it's my least favorite part. So I just made it a different kind of background. I used the edge of it to do all, like the different kind of lines and texture on it. And then that one isn't stark white. That one has a little bit of black on it. I actually didn't mind it that much. For this one, I did the same thing, that die cutting trick where I didn't completely cover the die, and then put that down. So this one says summertime coming your way. This one says sending summertime sunshine. You can read. I don't know why I'm telling you what they say. And then those are all of the cards. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for hanging in there with me as I'm kind of driving the struggle bus this month. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.